Tell me if you all can hear me now. I think you should be able to hear me now. Yeah, okay, great. Well, for some reason, my computer was ignoring the microphone that I said I wanted to use, but here I am. Okay, so welcome everyone to the webinar. As usual, we are very thankful for you coming here, spending time with us. Our desire is to educate you. This is part 2 of the Hydrogen Performance series on nutrition and how gut health and vitamin absorption is critical for health. So this is what we'll be talking about tonight, is gut health and vitamin absorption. We're going to be going over some studies. We're going to go over hydrogen. We're going to go over some of the products. We're going to give you a wonderful discount code that you'll be able to use on the Echo Water website. And as usual, we like to ask everyone who thinks they are the farthest. We are in Utah in the United States of America. That's where I'm talking to you from. Where are you? I would love for everyone to put in the chat real quick. If you are international, especially, would love to know. Tennessee, welcome. I'm wondering, Trinidad, that's awesome. Ainsley is from Trinidad. Welcome from Trinidad. Of course, Georgia, Florida. I grew up in Gainesville, Florida, and lived much of my life, 23 years of my life in Orlando, Florida. So just a big shout out. Los Angeles, welcome. Texas, welcome. Love having you all here. San Diego, that's where I was married, in La Jolla area, just over 31 years ago. Welcome. Berlin, Germany. That's awesome. I've been there. That's wonderful. Thank you for being here from Germany. And of course, Susan, Western Kansas. We got to do a shout out for Kansas. My wife's favorite movie is Wizard of Oz. So there you go. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started. We have people coming in, and I think we've gotten everybody that we'll go ahead and start with. And so we're very excited to have you with us. I will be going through this PowerPoint, and then we'll be going through 7 different studies, but 6 of them specific to our topic of gut health and vitamin absorption. I guess all 7 are gut health. One I normally share in everyone, and then the other 6 will be different, I guess is what I should be saying. So after we are done with the PowerPoint, the content, then we will turn it over to question and answer. So please understand that while I'm giving the presentation, if you put your questions in, then one of our amazing team will answer them. And then once I'm done with the content, I will come and answer the questions that are left over. We have an incredible team that always helps me. They're amazing individuals, and I'm grateful for them. So whatever they don't answer that's simpler questions, I will answer at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, we're going to explore how molecular hydrogen supports healthier digestive system and improves nutrient bioavailability. This is critical for health. So we all eat every day, but it doesn't mean that we're assimilating or properly digesting on a daily basis. And so, believe it or not, in medicine, we can find people that have poor nutrition but are eating food every day, but they don't really take in or absorb those nutrients because either their gut is not functioning properly, and so they're not able to digest properly or ferment foods properly. And so these are the kind of things that we want to help people not have. And so we'll get started with that. Here's our FDA disclaimer. Obviously, we're not here to diagnose or treat disease models for you. We are here to educate you. I am here to educate you on hydrogen gas. And Echo Water, which is the original and the best hydrogen water company in the world that I founded, is here to educate you. And so we want to help you understand when we dissolve hydrogen gas in water and that hydrogen gas gets into your body, there are positive effects. And that's what we're going to be talking about from an education perspective. I As I always say, I am a happy husband of 31 years. It's what I'm most proud of in my life, is being a husband of 31 years. I think many people will agree that is one of the most difficult things in life, is making sure that you're continuing to nurture relationships and not just staying married. I meet a lot of people that are married. Doesn't mean that they have an amazing relationship. So that's hopefully what we all focus on every day, is making the relationships that we are blessed to have meaningful. Water, as we always talk about, water is the main component of most of our body. We are 50 to 75% water. And that's going to depend on how much water we drink and age and what have you. But if we drink proper water, then we'll be properly hydrated. And if we're properly hydrated, then our body will function better and our energy levels will be much, much better. So just understand that that is our goal. We want to have appropriate energy so we can do the things that we want to do, so that we don't have to feel sluggish. We don't have to feel tired all the time. We can go and enjoy life with our loved ones and friends and what have you, so that we can participate and accomplish our potential. So if we look at the different components of the body, blood, brain, eyes, muscle, you can clearly see that a vast majority of what makes up blood, brain, eyes, and muscle is water. I always mention this, but I'll mention it again. Even our bones are 13% water. So please understand, water is critical for life and for the function of our body. And let's talk about that a little bit here. Water is the driving force of all nature, said Leonardo da Vinci. And if we look around this individual, this graphic of the body, digestion and energy, saliva, converting food into components needed for survival, flushing body waste, that's all requires water. If we look at brain and nervous system, for neurotransmitters and for hormone production or making of those things, you have to have water. And then, of course, for our brain and other parts of our body, water is a shock absorber. So if we think of our joints in our body, water is one of the things that can pump up our joints. And it's really important that we are properly hydrated so we don't have what people call in the medical community bone on bone. It's not really, it would be cartilage on cartilage, but it's really dehydration. If we drink proper water, then we will have our joint capsules pumped up with water, and that will help us hugely to function better. So again, water is the key component that allows us to grow, reproduce, and survive. So here's a little understanding of hydration. Nutrition: balance and heal your gut to improve body's absorptions of vitamins and supplements. And that becomes a process of hydration, nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, having the vitamins and minerals, and then proper sleep. All of these things come together in a perfect symbiotic relationship to allow our body to accomplish what it needs to accomplish, so we can wake up the next morning and do it all over again. So when we talk about dysbiosis or gut issues, gut imbalance, and the comment of a little indigestion can go a long way. Gut dysbiosis refers to a disruption in the balance of microorganisms in your digestive tract, and either too few beneficial microbes. And so just to bring this down to a level, and I'm going to kind of make this oversimplified, we really have two main types of bacteria in our gut. We have aerobic bacteria, which should only be 1 to 4% of our total bacteria in the gut. Then we have anaerobic, which should be 96 to 99% of the bacteria in our gut. So I think that helps you understand what's the problem. If we should have majority anaerobic microflora, well, guess what? If we take pesticides into our body, if we take overuse of antibiotics. And what do I mean by overuse of antibiotics? Antibiotics are a wonderful thing. And if you have a bacterial infection, especially a life-threatening bacterial infection, antibacterials or antibiotics are the greatest thing you can do for your body. Clearly, you don't want to die from a bacterial infection, and you don't want to have a bacterial infection run rampant and have blood poisoning and other things that can occur. So antibiotics and antibacterial medications are critical in those situations. However, antibiotics or antibacterials do not really do anything for viruses or poisons in the body. So this is where we've kind of gotten a little off in our medical model in the world, is we give people antibiotics or antibacterials constantly for things that are not bacterial infections. And so what's going to end up happening is our gut environment, our terrain, the biome that makes our gut working properly is going to suffer, because these antibiotics or antibacterials are going to wipe out the bacteria in our gut, because they're very good at wiping out bacteria, and they're not always discriminating against good and bad bacteria. So please understand, this is really important for us to understand, is that you should only take an antibiotic or an antibacterial if you have a viral infection, and not, the opposite. If you have a bacterial infection. If you have a viral infection, you should not be taking these things. So most of the time, people have a viral infection or something along these lines, not a bacterial infection. And so that's what's important to understand, is that if it's viral, you're going to do what mom told you to do. You're going to need to get sleep. You're going to need to get vitamin C, real whole vitamin C. You're going to need to use things that bolster your system and not destroy. Now, here's what happens sometimes. We can get a virus and we just keep going and live life, and it ends up we can have a bacterial infection where we can get lung issues. And so those we need to take care of right away with antibiotics or antibacterial. They're life-saving, okay? So let's look at some of the symptoms of dysbiosis. Digestive barrier issues cause what? Irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bowel disease, leaky gut, toxins entering the bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation. Immune disruption and inflammation, what does that cause? Autoimmune response, allergic disorders, increased chronic disease risk, metabolic health and epigenetics. What's that going to cause? Insulin resistance, obesity, type 2 diabetes, dyslipidemia, epigenetic changes, or what we call gene expression, brain, mood, and neurologic effects, anxiety, depression, mood swings, brain fog, poor concentration, and neurodevelopment disorders. And then finally, systemic and organic health is going to cause cardiovascular disease. Now, all of these things have what in common? It's caused by stress, oxidative stress and inflammation, and that can be from environment, it can be from infections, it can be from medications, it can be from toxins, it can be all kinds of things. But this is the reality of what's going on with us. When we look at nutritional balance, are you under nutritional balance or are you overnourished? So you undernourished or overnourished? And I know that this is an interesting topic because you can be undernourished or you can be overnourished. And that's what I was talking about before, is you can have people eating, and they're not really getting the food. So how is that going to manifest? Well, if we look at the cardiovascular or metabolic issues, that creates obesity, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, metabolic syndrome. If we look at organ deficiencies, we could have scurvy, edema, or what's called swelling, all these different issues. If we go to mental and emotional, what do we see? Fatigue, depression, anxiety, irritability. We all know sometimes we get that, right? Cognitive decline. If we get to immune and wound healing, we will have a weak immune system. If we're not getting nutritional value out of food, we will have a weak immune function. We also will have delayed healing because we won't have the components that our body needs or the tools our body needs to heal. So I think you can read the rest of those. You can get the idea here, what we're talking about. But nutritional balance is critical to our body and to health. So hydrogen 101, 63% of our body should be hydrogen. And what do we mean by that? Well, we just said 50 to 75% of your body is water. And one of the components or constituent elements of water is hydrogen gas. Now, it's not in a gas form when it's in a water molecule, but it is hydrogen in your system. 24% oxygen, 12% carbon, and 1% nitrogen. And again, we could say we are basically, if you get down to a molecular level, carbon, hydrogen chains. That's what we are. So understand that most of the hydrogen in our body is bound in water, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, not really available to the body. What echo water is, and that's obviously what you make here in the flask, what echo water is, it is water, H2O, that's in liquid form, and then we've added H2 gas. That's what's critical to the body. Our body needs the H2 gas to be able to do all the things that we're going to talk about. And everything that I teach you about hydrogen is when hydrogen is in gas form. And our body, if our gut was working properly, we would make flatulence, and part of flatulence is hydrogen. So understand, that's where our natural source would be of hydrogen, would be in our intestinal tract, particularly in our colon. When we ferment foods, we're going to have gases. One of those gases is hydrogen. Hydrogen would then come into our intestinal tract and into our body and regulate pathways and do what hydrogen does. Because of gut dysbiosis or gut damage in general, we have lost partially or all of the ability to produce hydrogen the way we're supposed to. And so that's why we have to get an echo flask or an appropriate way to get hydrogen back in our body so that we can function the way we need to. Please understand, it is critical to life. So what is hydrogen water? I kind of just told you, but it is water with additional bioavailable hydrogen gas, what we call H2. So if it's in gas form, it's now bioavailable to the body. If it's wrapped in or bonded with oxygen to make a water molecule, it's not bioavailable. If it is combined with proteins or carbohydrates or fats or lipids or whatever, it's not available to the body. So we really need to have hydrogen gas available to our body. Now, we do know there's 1,500 plus studies. There's 150 years of research in the world and 40 proven benefits from a therapeutic perspective. So please understand, this is not a fad that's going away. Your body was designed, and my body was designed to make hydrogen, and that is natural. That is appropriate. But what's not natural and appropriate is many of the chemicals that we take into our body that disrupt our natural system in our gut. And that's what we're trying to replace here, is what your body should be making on its own. 3 steps to making hydrogen and water. First of all, we need water, H2O. Once we have water molecules, we can separate them through a very specific process called a PEM electrolysis. So electrolysis, which was discovered by Anthony Carlisle in 1800 in London, is a way to separate hydrogen and oxygen back into their gas forms in a small amount of the water volume. So obviously there are tons of molecules in a bottle of water, right? And the small amount of hydrogen can give us tremendous benefits. We don't need a ton of hydrogen per day, but we do need it on a regular basis every day. So the first step is to have water that doesn't have a bunch of toxins or chemicals or negative parts of it, like contaminants. We need to have pure water if possible. Then we need to have electrolysis that has a proton exchange membrane, because we can now separate water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen gas. And what we do in our devices, in echo devices, we send the oxygen out to the environment, and we are just dissolving the hydrogen gas into the water you're going to consume. We're not putting chlorine, we're not putting hypochlorous acid, we're not putting ozone, we're not putting heavy metals, we're not putting pesticide, we're not putting anything else in the water like the other products that advertise as hydrogen but aren't really hydrogen products. They are putting chlorine and heavy metals and other things in the water, but not in an Echo device. Obviously, Echo is the premier, the original, the premium hydrogen products in the world. And so this is the process that you would do, 3 steps. And you're effectively separating water molecules, grabbing the hydrogen, sending the oxygen back out to environment. And that's what we're doing. So let's talk about 4 cellular functions that hydrogen regulates. Okay. Number 1, joint pain, stiffness, brain fog, neuroinflammation, and allergies. That's going to reduce inflammation or an inflammatory response in the body. So that's going to reduce pain, improve flexibility, improve cognitive performance, and reduce allergy severity. So you see on one side you have joint pain, on the other side you have reduced pain. This is what's going to happen when you introduce hydrogen back into the body. Next, it's going to go from fatigue and lethargy, poor endurance, to improved ATP production, improved aerobic capacity, improved stress resilience, because you've improved your mitochondria function or health. And understand that mitochondria, you have mitochondria in every cell of your body, and what that does is produce energy so that our body can live, function. We need energy, right? And it's our mitochondria that does that. Next, when we talk about the microbiome, many people, a large percentage of the population have digestive issues, obesity, overweight, poor immune function. If we get our microbiome or our gut balanced and intact, we will have better gut health, better weight management, enhanced immune function. That's what we're looking for. And hydrogen can do that. And that's what's important to understand, is that when we get hydrogen gas into the body, it's exactly what it does. People that have gluten and dairy intolerance within a couple weeks can have less gluten and dairy intolerance or no gluten and dairy. Everyone's individual, but it's going to improve your situation. Now, finally, cellular repair and regeneration. This is another big area where hydrogen shines. Instead of poor wound healing, we're going to have faster wound healing. Instead of premature aging, we're going to have slower aging. In other words, we're going to age gracefully, right? If instead of having poor skin, hair, and nails, we're going to have healthier skin, hair, and nails. So understand that this is what we want from an aesthetics perspective, from a pain perspective, from a function perspective, from a performance perspective. Everything is improved with hydrogen gas. And that's what Echo Water is. We're the premier hydrogen company. So let's talk a little bit about how on earth drinking water with hydrogen gas would benefit the gut. Well, this is a study done in Russia many years ago, and it's talking about the fact that the intestinal tract has an electrical component. And more importantly, to reestablish the terrain or the biome in the body as it relates to the core bacteria that are desired in our intestinal tract, because it is the bacteria that breaks the food down, digests the food, and believe it or not, has more to do with our emotional states than anything else. And this is a whole study topic you can do, is how does bacteria in our gut affect our mental state, our emotional state, all of this. It is fascinating and amazing to understand. But what I would tell you is, for the bacteria in the gut to thrive, to live, to create communities, which is what you want, because that's where you're getting good gut health, is if the bacteria have a place to live and they're happy about it, they'll create communities of bacteria. And what this study is saying is that it is the electrical potential within the intestinal tract, or the tissue of the lining of your intestinal tract, to have anaerobic microflora, or what's called strict anaerobes. you need a negative 300 to a negative 400 millivolts of electrical potential. And that, according to this study, is the proper environment for these bacteria to thrive. Now, Echo water has that property, a negative 400 to a negative 600 millivolts of electrical potential. And so when you drink that water and it goes into the stomach and then through the duodenum or the duodenum and into the small intestine, then into the large intestine, guess what? It's imparting that negative electrical potential into the tissue so that now it's changing the biome and the terrain so that these bacteria have a wonderful place to live and an environment that they can be happy with. That is what this study is saying. So that offers, obviously, an opinion based on this study. That's what's happening. Now, it could be a number of other things. It could be enzyme actions. It could be other things. But this particular study is talking about the fact that these bacteria have to have a negative electrical potential to have a place to live. And we know that our water has that. And this is one of the reasons why gut health is such a fast response in the body when people are drinking Echo water because of the hydrogen gas in it. Okay. So I hope that helps you understand that that's what's happening. And many people within an hour of drinking Echo water are like, oh, when I eat food, it feels different. I don't have the gut issues I have. But you also need to understand that where does digestion start? In the stomach. What's in the stomach that is supposed to begin the process? Well, first in the mouth, we have saliva to start breaking things down. But then when we get into the stomach, we have stomach acid. What would we say stomach acid? If we were to write it down on a piece of paper, it's HCl, hydrochloric acid. Now, guess what? What's the H in HCl? Hydrogen. You can't even make stomach acid without hydrogen gas. So please understand, this is how critical it is. It starts in your very stomach, helping you break foods down. And people that have acid reflux and people that have other digestive disorders, it could be they just don't have hydrogen, so they can't even make hydrochloric acid or stomach acid to break down foods. How crazy is that? So let's continue, but I want you guys to understand the importance of all of this because it is going to change your life, and it will change the life of anyone that you tell about it if they do something about it. If they start drinking Echo water, it's going to change their life. So let's talk about this study. This was an interesting quantitative proteomic analysis of intestines. And it's talking about polymicrobial sepsis. This was an animal study. And sepsis is associated with intestinal injury and has a higher morbidity rate with individuals with sepsis. Obviously, right? Obvious. If you get sepsis, it's pretty toxic and you can die. So in this particular study, these animals were inhaling hydrogen gas. And what did we learn? Inhaling a 2% hydrogen gas significantly increased the 7-day survival rate with these mice. So again, this was an animal study showing that hydrogen has an effective protective effect with highly lethal models of sepsis. Okay. So breathing in hydrogen gas has a benefit to helping sepsis internally in the body. That's number one. Number two, so each one of these studies, I'm going to give you 5 talking points, and then we're going to move on. That the first one is the fact that hydrogen improves sepsis survival. Number 2, reduction in bacterial burden in intestinal damage. Now, I don't want to be gross, but I want to tell you how they know that. So in this particular study, they performed a CLP, which is kind of horrible when you really know what it is. They basically took intestine and they cut it, tied it, and then punctured a hole in it so that these bad bacteria from the intestinal tract would leak into the body of these poor mice. I say we're talking about this study, but I couldn't imagine. Thank heavens for these mice sacrificing themselves. But long story short, they're called CLP, cuttage ligation. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're cutting the intestinal tract, they're ligating it, which is to tie it, and then they're puncturing it. And so that's what they're doing here. And what that does is allow the sepsis or the contaminants to get into the body cavity itself, which is obviously going to spread bacteria and injury. So hydrogen treatment lowered the bacterial load in blood and peritoneal lavage fluid and reduced intestinal injury in CLP mice. So this suggests that hydrogen not only reduces systemic infection, but also helps preserve gut integrity when it comes to crucial sepsis. So that's point number 2. It's going to lower bacterial burden internally. Number 3, proteomic insights into mechanism. Using the iTrack system, it's a quantitative proteomics, basically. The researchers identified 4,194 proteins and with 199 differentially expressed proteins linked to hydrogen's protective effect. This provides a molecular level understanding of how hydrogen exerts its benefits. So all 4,194 proteins were quantified, of which 199 differentially expressed proteins were associated with a positive effect of H2 on sepsis. So that was cool. Number 4, key signaling pathways. When we talk about these pathways, the functional enrichment analysis showed hydrogen's effects were associated with thyroid hormone synthesis, nitrogen metabolism, and digestion absorption pathways. These pathways are vital for metabolic regulation and recovery during sepsis. So again, we begin to understand why the body is being protected. 5th and final for this study is downregulation of specific damage-related proteins. So hydrogen reduced intestinal injury by downregulating 4 critical proteins. And it's DMBT1. You can see it down here, but what that stands for is deleted in malignant brain tumor 1, linked to mucosal immunity and inflammation. You see the next one down there is IRS2. It's the insulin receptor substrate 2, which it says it right there. And then you have the next, which is NMYC, gene 1. And so these are all stress response proteins in the body. And the downregulation highlights hydrogen's role in modulating the inflammatory response in the body. And that's what we need to understand, is that it was critical for what's happening in there. So this is telling us that hydrogen helped the entire system to relieve the body of sepsis. And so it provides mechanic evidence, or what's called mechanistic evidence in hydrogen not only improving survival in sepsis, but also reducing bacterial load, preserving intestinal integrity, and modulating key inflammatory and metabolic proteins. So this is key stuff. I mean, this is very, very serious. So now let's talk about anti-tumor effect with inulin consumption. And again, both inulin consumption, which is a prebiotic fiber, and hydrogen administration show anti-tumor activity in preclinical models and preclinical trials. That's basically what this study is. This is an abstract, but effectively this is what this is talking about. And so you can replicate it in inhaled oxygen. You can also do it with water. Both inulin, and what we want to understand in this, both inulin and hydrogen therapy increased circulating CD4, CD8, and T cells. which are essential for adaptive immunity. And that's what we want to understand, is that these killer cells and these other things that are going, they are all about tumor surveillance, what's called immunosurveillance. And this demonstrates that hydrogen can replicate inulin's immune boosting effects. So again, this is very, very good information. And what did we learn in the study? We saw that both interventions reduced melanoma tumor growth and promoted T cell infiltration into the tumor, supporting this idea that hydrogen diffuses from the gut into circulation and directly enhances the body's anti-cancer immune defenses. So this is really, really good information for us to understand. We'll go to the next study. Let's see what time it is. Yeah, so we're doing good. We're making good time. Next study is obviously hydrogen-rich water intake and hydrogen gas inhalation on gut microbiome and plasma metabolites of rats in health status. So we want to look at the different effects of two different mechanisms of getting hydrogen into the body. A, through inhalation, and B, through hydrogen-rich water. So let's talk about this. Hydrogen interventions influence metabolites differently. So here we're starting to learn that it can be different how you're getting hydrogen into the body. It may have been believed before that as long as you get hydrogen in the body, it's fine. We're learning now that different mechanisms of delivery, in other words, water or inhalation, both have differing benefits, and some have combined benefits or similar benefits. So this is important. So let's talk about this for a second. Hydrogen-rich water and hydrogen inhalation altered plasma metabolite profiles, but in distinct ways. So here's what's interesting. Both inhalation and hydrogen water changed plasma metabolites, but hydrogen-rich water affected starch and sucrose metabolism. Hydrogen inhalation influenced arginine biosynthesis. This suggests that the route of hydrogen administration plays a major role in its biological impact. So last week when we did our webinar, I kind of gave you guys a sneak peek and said, if you can afford both hydrogen inhalation and hydrogen water, then you'll get both benefits. You'll get all of the benefits that both modalities have. But if you don't, or if you can't, then of course get water, because that's going to be your least expensive and your easiest to implement in your life. Now, let's talk about the gut microbiota. That's part of this study, of course. Hydrogen-rich water intake caused significant restructuring of gut microbiota, including an increase of lactobacillus, ruminococcus, and Clostridium 11. Okay, now it decreased bacteroids. Now, this is critical. Let's talk about that. Hydrogen inhalation, in contrast, showed only mild microbiota shifts, notably a decrease in Blauschia, and is two different things. What's called parapivitella. So this indicates that hydrogen-rich water may act more strongly through the gut microbiome pathway, while hydrogen inhalation may act more systemically. So when we talked about plasma metabolites, both had distinct effects. When we talk about the gut microbiota, hydrogen water had more effects. And this would be obvious because when you're drinking water, where's it going to end up? In your gut, to help your microbiome. Now, let's look at metabolic function outcomes that are different. They differ with these two mechanisms of delivery. Hydrogen inhalation decreased voluntary intake and excretions in rats, showing an impact on whole body metabolism and behavior. Hydrogen-rich water did not change food water intake or excretion, suggesting it may be metabolically gentler while still effective. So, again, they both had benefits, but hydrogen-rich water was a little more gentler in the system than hydrogen inhalation. Number 4, evidence of long-term safety and adaptation. Over 6 months, hydrogen interventions, both hydrogen-rich water and hydrogen inhalation, modulated metabolic and microbiota profiles without harmful disruptions. This supports hydrogen's potential for preventative and therapeutic use in chronic health management. So again, both mechanisms are excellent. Could be slightly different in their mechanistic behaviors, but they both have tremendous benefits. Now, by linking metabolomics and microbiome shifts with hydrogen interventions, the study provides a roadmap for uncovering the mechanisms of hydrogen's biological effects for future hydrogen medicine research. And so this is what we really want to understand. And so what's our takeaway from this? Long-term hydrogen use, both in hydrogen-rich water and hydrogen inhalation, is safe. But hydrogen-rich water seems to act through microbiome modulation, while hydrogen inhalation alters metabolism more directly, showing complementary but distinct pathways. So again, very interesting in these different mechanisms or approaches to getting hydrogen in the body. And so again, if you can afford both, then you're going to get all the benefits. If you can afford one, then hydrogen water is where you would want to start. Let's look at this one, which is about hydrogen water ameliorates metabolic disorder by modifying gut microbiota in impaired fasting glucose. So these are patients that have an impaired fasting glucose level. And so this is more of a study with, with these individuals. So this is the first human RCT on IFG, or what's called impaired fasting glucose, and hydrogen water. So this is one of the first randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial to investigate the effects of hydrogen-rich water in patients with IFG, or impaired fasting glucose. Pre-diabetes, remember, this is pre-diabetes, making it highly relevant for preventative medicine. So what did we, that's first. Number 2, we saw an improvement. Oh, my camera, let me see if I can have it zoom in. I don't know. Let me go to my camera thing. Apologize. So when we go on this study and we look at it, it helps us understand about diabetes, and it helps us understand about how that's going to help with liver, fatty liver, other things. And we'll go over that in just a minute. But first of all, improvements in blood glucose control. So after 8 weeks of daily drinking hydrogen-rich water, about 1 liter per day, patients showed a significant reduction in fasting glucose level. Okay, so that's important to understand. Fasting blood glucose compared with placebo. In other words, the pure water without hydrogen, demonstrating hydrogen-rich water potential as a non-pharmacological intervention for pre-diabetes. So this is huge. Now we know there's 77 studies on diabetes, but this is for pre-diabetics. Now let's talk about fatty liver. I told you I would do that. Among the IFG patients with fatty liver at baseline, 62.5% of those in the hydrogen-rich water group achieved remission, compared to only 31.6 in the placebo group. So that's twice as many people. So drinking water had effects, but hydrogen helped twice as many individuals in the study go into remission. This suggests that hydrogen may help address both glucose metabolism and liver health. So number 4, gut microbiota and metabolome connection. Let's talk about what this is. So what's called RNA sequencing revealed that hydrogen-rich water modified gut microbiota dysbiosis in IFG patients. Importantly, 9 metabolites were highly correlated with these microbiota changes. linking hydrogen therapy to host microbe interactions and metabolism regulation. So understand that this is great information when we're talking about the 16S RNA. This is great. Number 5, finally on this one, is the fact that it also showed that the improved, well, we can just read it. H2 slightly improved metabolic abnormalities and gut microbiota dysbiosis, providing a theoretical basis for the prevention and treatment of blood glucose regulation. So again, this was a very good study, the first human trial that was done, and that's why we want to share it with you. So here we're talking about hydrogen-rich water and fecal propionic acid levels in overweight adults. This was a randomized controlled where 12 weeks of daily drinking of hydrogen-rich water influenced fecal short-chain fatty acids in overweight adults versus tap water. So what do we learn? Let's go with the 5 things I've put down here. First of all, this trial provides direct evidence that 12 weeks of daily hydrogen-rich water intake can alter fecal short-chain fatty acid concentrations in overweight adults, highlighting a new gut biome hydrogen connection. Number 2, significant increase in propionic acid. Now, hydrogen-rich water led to statistically significant rise in propionic acid versus the control, okay? And propionate is a single-chain fatty acid or short-chain fatty acid known to improve insulin sensitivity, regulate appetite, and reduce inflammation. So critically important for individuals that are obese. So what do we learn? Is that this is clinically meaningful to those that are obese, because this propionic acid is huge for them in their processing. Number 3, trends in other short-chain fatty acids, acetate and butyrate. While not statistically significant, hydrogen-rich water also showed upward trends in acetic acid, butyric acid, both of which are vital for colon health, energy metabolism, and anti-inflammatory effects. So, again, really important. Number 4, gut microbial metabolism as a target. So, this data suggests that hydrogen-rich water may modulate gut microbial activity, influencing short-chain fatty acids production. This indicates that hydrogen could act as a prebiotic-like agent, supporting a healthier gut ecosystem. Now, any of you that have been following me for any amount of time, which could be up to 16 years, I don't know exactly who's on here, but I've been talking about this since 2009. I've been talking about hydrogen, and I've been telling people within an hour, hydrogen starts rehabbing the gut. And within 2 weeks, if someone's drinking Echo water, because of the hydrogen that's in Echo water, it can help the gut significantly within 2 weeks. And here is a study showing that this is functioning similar to a prebiotic. This is huge. Now imagine, I digress for a second, but imagine if you're taking the Echo Hydrogen prebiotic that has 3 prebiotics and hydrogen, you're getting a double whammy to repair your gut. And they are little stick packs. I love these things, by the way. They taste like amazing apple flavor. If you haven't tried it, please, please, please try it. You'll fall in love with it. So what's the takeaway? I kind of already gave it to you, but regular hydrogen-rich water consumption may reshape gut microbial metabolism, particularly in boosting propionate, with downstream benefits for glucose control, inflammation, and gut health. So very important. Final study we're going to go over tonight. Effects of the long-term consumption of hydrogen-rich water on the antioxidant activity and gut flora in female juvenile soccer players from Suzhou, China. Why? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Let's learn. So, number 1, hydrogen water reduces exercise-induced oxidative stress. So first of all, and you know as well as I do, there are many, many studies on elite athletes, soccer players, what have you. And we at Echo have professional sports teams and professional athletes using our water. But let's see, first of all, 2 months of hydrogen-rich water consumption significantly reduced MDAs, a marker of lipid peroxidation, showing that hydrogen helps limit free radical damage caused by intense training and competition. Now, I believe that in most sports we overwork our athletes, and this leads to a lot of injury and other issues. So I'm not a coach though, and I'm not a personal trainer, but I do believe that many athletes are overworked because in our system of sports, we believe that overworking them makes them more stable, but it in fact does not. So that's my opinion. It's worth what you paid for it. So please understand that's number one. Number two, anti-inflammatory effects for athletes. Hydrogen-rich water intake significantly lowered pro-inflammatory cytokines, and we're talking about interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and TNF alpha. So we're talking about the different inflammatory cytokines. So again, cytokines, like when you had long COVID, cytokine storms got in the body, and that's where we start to create problems with athletes. They are pushing and pushing and pushing their body, and they're going to have inflammatory response in the body, and they're going to have pro-inflammatory cytokines. Well, hydrogen-rich water reduced significantly lowered is what they said, but I would say that's reduced the pro-inflammatory cytokines, demonstrating its ability to reduce systemic inflammation, often linked to fatigue, overtraining, and injury in athletes. So we have the Dodgers, we have the top 8 players in the 49ers, we have, the Raiders using these organizations, UFC, all these people using for these wonderful athletes. And this is why. Number 3, enhanced antioxidant defense and blood health. Athletes consuming hydrogen-rich water showed increases in superoxide dismutase, or what's considered SOD activity, total antioxidant capacity, and hemoglobin levels, improving both oxidative balance and oxygen carrying capacity of blood. How important is that? It's everything when you're an athlete. How much oxygen you have in your blood is critical. Number 4, positive modulation of gut microbiota. So hydrogen-rich water improved gut flora, diversity, and abundance, as indicated by higher Shannon, Sobs, ACE, and Chow indices after 2 months. These suggest hydrogen may act as a modulator of the microbiome, contributing to better resilience and recovery. I will tell you that this is why athletes from other countries a lot of times will outperform, because their guts are more intact. They have less toxins and contaminants in their food supply in Europe versus the United States, for example. So, number 5, by combining antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and microbiota enhancing effects, hydrogen-rich water may help athletes reduce fatigue, recover faster, and maintain overall health during intensive sports training. So, I'm a huge fan of drinking the water so you have recovery times. And we even have one of our employees, Trace Waterland, who's the manager over our technical support and repair department, who runs big, long runs in the mountains. And he has indicated and told me that his recovery times are, 70, 80% lower than they were before. And that's very, very exciting. So let's talk for a minute about the Echo Flask. I'm going to zoom my camera in a little more because it keeps going out. My camera is a smart camera, but it doesn't seem so smart sometimes. There we go. I think that will be close enough. I don't want you to see me too close. So here's the Echo Flask. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and touch the touch screen, and then clearly the way you turn it on is by pressing that right there. And then you can see that the timer is on, and you can also see all those bubbles. Can you see all those bubbles in there? Oh my gosh, look at that incredible hydrogen. Woohoo! So this is the flask. This is the world's most advanced portable hydrogen maker. And it is so beautiful, so sexy, so quality feeling. I get stopped all the time when I'm traveling and I have this on the plane or I have it at a table where I'm eating and people are like, what's that? They want to know just by the look of it. It's incredible. Now, keep in mind, you see these lights inside here? You can change those with the app. You can 14 different colors you can choose. You can change that in your app. Now, here is the technical aspects. 12-ounce capacity, 8 parts per million if you do the 20-minute cycle. That's 16 times what's considered therapeutic by the International Hydrogen Standards Association. It will not add chlorine into your water, unlike the crappy scam hydrogen products on the market that say they're hydrogen, but they're not really hydrogen. You won't get any chlorine from Echo product. You will get it from other products. And so we don't chlorinate your water. There is a port on the bottom. Can you all see that blue light right there? That blue light is a port on the bottom that O2, O3, Cl2 comes out. Never do we allow contaminants into this. And all you're getting in this beautiful flask is hydrogen gas, H2 gas only, nothing else. It has a 5-year warranty. Right here is your USB-C charger. So all you're doing is putting pure water in the top. Take the lid off, of course. Put the water in, keep it charged, and enjoy your Echo water. That is all you got to do. And people ask, how long will this last? Well, it's got a 5-year warranty. So clearly it's going to last 5 years. Number one. Number two, the hydrogen is not going to degrade. You could use this 3 times a day for 5.5 years and have no reduction in hydrogen as long as you maintain it correctly, which doesn't take much. But that's what you got to understand. This is the least expensive way to have a portable product. 1/5 the cost of tablets. 1/5 the cost of tablets. And guess what? If you have 2 people can use this. You're not limited to just one. So it is, of course, certified IHSA standards, and it has been tested by Silver State Analytical Laboratories in Las Vegas to not have any contaminants coming into the water at all in any way, shape, or form. And from H2 Analytics, this was the report from January 2025 when we launched this product. 6.07 parts per million in a 10-minute cycle, 8.25 parts per million in a 20-minute cycle. So please understand, it is the highest performing portable hydrogen product in the world. Okay? What are people saying? Improved sleep, lower joint pain, lower inflammation, increased immune function, improved energy and clarity, better digestion, reduced fatigue, reduced recovery times. That's what people are saying. You know, they only say the only guarantees you have is dying and paying taxes. So we can't guarantee anything to you. However, this is what most people are saying. And I can tell you, after drinking hydrogen water for 20 years, I'm feeling pretty good at 53 years old. I don't have aches and pains anywhere. I don't have disease models, issues, never have. I'm just living the best life I can live and enjoying life. And that's what I want for you. I want for you to also enjoy your life. When you order, make sure you get the ebook because it's a great read. Here is a Echo Elite coupon code at checkout. So understand that this is all you need to do. All you need to do is put Echo Elite in the coupon code when you're in the shopping cart checking out. You want to make sure that you put Echo Elite as your coupon code, and that will give you a 10% discount on anything that you're doing. So I hope that is good. I hope you use that. So you should see on your screen a link and all of that on your screen. This is Trace Waterland that I was telling you about, who it has helped his recovery time since he's been an employee. And of course, Becca Kevern, who is just absolutely amazing lady. She is the head of customer support. Both of them are incredible and really, really are there to support you. So I'm going to leave this on the screen and I'm going to go to the question and answers. So that concludes the content part. I hope you enjoyed your time. I hope it was beneficial for you. I enjoyed sharing these studies. These are the first time I've ever shared these particular studies. So it was great for me, and hopefully it was great for you. I'm very excited to be able to have you educated on these things. So let's go ahead and go to the top and see which questions were not answered. Okay, so I am going to jump in here because Penny did an amazing job in answering Alicia, asking about what are the differences between Echo and Kangen. They are vastly different systems. And so let me answer that for you. And Kangen is a company that makes alkaline water systems and acid water. They have very poor filtration. And what they focus on is raising and lowering the pH of the water. We don't really focus on that. If someone wants that, we do have a product called the Echo Ultimate that makes 4 types of water. Filtered only for coffee and tea, alkaline water, 4 levels for cleaning dirt. We don't recommend you drink it, but you can. It does have hydrogen in it, but it's not really what we recommend ever for drinking. Alkaline water is good for cleaning dirt. The higher the pH, the more of a surfactant water becomes. Next is acid water, and there's 4 levels of that. Now, acid water has hypochlorous acid. It has a kill spectrum. And then finally, hydrogen water for drinking. So if someone is used to Kangen water or alkaline water, they can buy our Echo Ultimate machine. It does have a 10-year warranty, and you can have all 4 types of water. And that machine can be countertop or under sink. But just keep in mind, we are a hydrogen water company. pH is unimportant to us when it comes to drinking water. In fact, it's not good to drink higher pH water. So Echo Water is the original and the largest hydrogen water company in the world. Kangen now, because of our success, talks about hydrogen. The problem is if you don't clean a Kangen machine every 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have mineral buildup on the electrodes and lose the ability to dissolve hydrogen gas. So that's what I want you to understand, that even in their warranty, they tell you you have to clean their machine every 2 weeks if you want hydrogen. So I hope that answers your question, Alicia. Okay, let me go down and see about more questions that I should answer. Let's keep going. Okay, Nicole says, excuse my ignorance, if you have answered this question in my previous webinar, can you tell us your area of study training credentials? Yeah, it was in the second page, the second slide. And I tell you what, I will save myself time and I'll go right there. So there you go. There's my credentials. All right. So let's go on down. I am, and one thing I will say, I'm uniquely qualified to talk about alkaline water because I used to be a partner in the original company selling alkaline water systems in the world. We had an 80% market share in 40 countries in the world under a brand called Jupiter Science. And yeah, we sold thousands of machines a month, 18 years ago, 17 years ago, 19 years ago. So understand that I've been in this for a long time. I've been in this space for a long time. I started in the alkaline machine world. And as I understood that most of the stuff the alkaline water companies were saying were completely false, I couldn't continue. And I exited from the company that I was a partner in. and created Echo and created the Echo product so we could focus on the truth, which is hydrogen being the reason why these benefits were occurring, not the pH of the water. So hopefully that helps you all a little bit. I'm going to continue down and see what other questions haven't been answered, because Penny is incredible just answering all these questions. Vicky says, is there a flask coming out that is completely free of smart technology? We are highly sensitive to EMF, and it looks like the flasks have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi capabilities. If they do have these features, how is it that the Wi-Fi isn't changing the water? Let me explain. You don't have to turn the app on, and you don't have to have your flask connected, and then nothing is going to be happening. But to answer your question, there is a plan to come out with a version of the flask that does not have all the same bells and whistles that the current Echo flask has. In other words, it won't have all the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. But I can tell you, if you don't connect your flask, then you'll be very happy and fine. So we are planning on doing it in the future. I don't know. I don't have a date for you, but you don't have to wait. You can also order our Echo Go Plus off of Amazon. And of course, that never had Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and it makes wonderful hydrogen water. So you can make sure you look up the Echo Go Plus, and you can order that because those are available. All right, let's keep going down. I love seeing all these answers. Sally, what about Alcaviva? Funny story. Okay, so I told you that I had a company with some partners in the alkaline world. Well, Alcaviva is that company today. So it was Ion Life, and then it turned into Ion Ways, and then they had some issues after I left, and they had to change it to Alcaviva. And so that's the company. So I was part of that originally, and now Jay Hare, who was a partner along with me, is now pretty much the owner of that, because David, who was part of it, has exited. But again, that is a company that's been around a long time. I was part of that, and now they're talking about hydrogen too. When I came to them in 2009 and said, guys, we got to stop talking about alkaline. We need to be talking about hydrogen. And they're like, no way, we're not going to do it. And so I exited August 2nd, 2009, which was my birthday, and I created Echo. So there you have it. That was the history there. Okay, Ed says, what is the minimum therapeutic dose for hydrogen inhalation in terms of dosage? Does it have to be for a specific time? How many times per week? Great question, Ed. There is no minimum that's ever been established. Unlike hydrogen water, there has been all these things established. Currently, there is no minimums for inhalation. I will tell you that the inhalation device we make, the Echo Revive, is an amazing device, and it gives tons of hydrogen. In fact, it can have two people at one time receiving hydrogen in a therapeutic and have very therapeutic effects, I should say. So there has been no standard set. There's no testing for it. There's none of that. But I can tell you the Echo Revive gives tons in the hydrogen inhalation, and you'll love it. Susan says, I have an Echo Ultimate, so don't use my flask much now. How do I store the flask long term? Great question. What I do is I take, of course, drink all the water out of it, and then I leave just a small amount of water, and I leave the lid off. And that allows me to store. And then when I go out of town or leave the house, I'll grab it with me and go. So that way I just keep it being used. I'm glad you have the Echo Ultimate. It's such a great machine. That's what I have in my house as well. I have the Echo Pure whole house system. Then I have under my sink in the kitchen, the Echo RO, and then the Ultimate. All of that is under sink, and I have the digital faucet on top. So our house is Echofied for sure. Let's keep going. Moria I hope I said that right. How do you compete with Lumi? Our product is much better. And of course, we're 16 years old. We were the first company to ever have portable systems. We're the first company to do hydrogen water. I mean, please reward us for being the first. Lumi is a multi-level marketing company. They just do their marketing the way they do, and they didn't even know that hydrogen was important when they came out with their first bottle. And anyways, that's what I believe about Luma Vitae. So if that's the company you're talking about, that's what I assume you're talking about is Luma Vitae. That would be my answer for that. Elizabeth, hydrogen water increases natural killer cells and T cells. Is there a specific percentage? Please visit hydrogenstudies.com, hydrogenstudies.com, and look up these studies so you can geek out like I like geeking out there. I put it in the chat there for you. All right, let's keep going. Jose says, how long does the H2 stay in your body? It really depends, but let's just say 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. The good news is hydrogen doesn't need to stay a long time because hydrogen is a signal modulator. And as long as it regulates the pathways, then those pathways are functioning. You don't need hydrogen to be in your body a long time. What you need is exposure to hydrogen. And in some cases, the effects of hydrogen gas can linger 3 to 5 days, been shown in studies. So great question. All right, can you add the ebook link? That's a great question, not for me. But that is in the shopping cart. When you are checking out, it's in the shopping cart on the website. All right, let's keep going down. We're doing good. All right, I think that's all the questions that I have. And let me see if there's anything over here. One thing I will share is let me do this. Let me press this lid. So inside here, with the lid, there is a wonderful patented process of pressure management. Please understand that whether or not you hear the noise or not, you still have the same hydrogen. What happens is sometimes if you overfill the bottle, some water can get up here into the lid of the flask, and you don't hear that noise. But that doesn't mean that you don't have pressure built up, and it doesn't mean that you don't have the right hydrogen. We sent it to H2 Analytics, and they tested it multiple times, and Randy came back and said, listen, it's all good. It still has the same hydrogen, whether or not it makes the noise. So please rest assured that you don't need to be concerned about that. Keep using it, and you're getting the benefits. So I hope that helps you understand that it's still working, even though it doesn't have the little noise. Ainsley says, do a Congo line in hydrogen water. Kim Kardashian will be so jealous. Oh, I love it. Kim Kardashian loves her water. She is one of our supporters and loves hydrogen water. Jose says, is hydrogen water good for pregnancy? Yes, it absolutely is good for pregnancy. I'm not saying it'll make you pregnant. I'm saying it's good if you are pregnant. It's good for your body, for edema, for swelling, for there's even a couple of studies I've seen, like one study out of Korea where the IQ of the child was higher. So if you want a smart kid, you might want to drink hydrogen water during your pregnancy. Catherine says, urine with bubble. I was told this is a sign of poor kidney health. Does H2 help? I don't know what that means. Urine with bubbles? Anyways, I apologize. I don't. Are you saying your urine is carbonated? I'm just kidding, of course. Um, I will tell you that hydrogen does help kidney health. If you go to hydrogenstudies.com, type in kidney, you will absolutely see that hydrogen gas will reduce inflammation with kidneys and therefore they will function more effectively. So, to answer your question, yes, putting all joking aside, yes, it will help. Um, yes, yes, yes. Let's see if there's any more. Otherwise, I'm going to bid you all farewell. Monica says, why do we need to drink sticks within 15 minutes and how fast to drink our hydrogen water from the flask? I don't know what you're talking about. If you're talking about these stick packs, please understand when you have hydrogen water in a glass like this, you have 2 hours to drink it. Whether you're doing it out of your sticks or not, it's 2 hours. Now, I never take 2 hours to drink a glass of water this much. It takes me seconds. So I recommend you drink your water faster, but I'm just saying hydrogen will go out in 2 hours. So I don't know who's telling you 15 minutes. I'm not saying it's a problem. I think it's great to drink it in 15 minutes, but I don't think you have to drink it in 15 minutes. David says, flip the rubber around on the cap or just clean it and put it back in. It should put the fizz back in. That's great. That's great. Great if that can work. I've never done mine, and I've never lost the noise, but I don't overfill it, and so I haven't had that happen. So, all right. Ainsley says, yes, our pets too. I have an idea for our four-legged family. Yeah, we have many, I would say, doggy daycares that use our water, and all of the problems, their eyes cleared out, their hair was nice and shiny. They didn't have bowel and bladder problems. It just so many benefits. So animals, 50% of animals have cancer. And that's horrible because of their diet, because of the kibble is 50 to 60% carbohydrates and sugar. So if we ate potato chips that were 50% sugar and carbs, we'd all have cancer too. I can promise you that. But dogs and cats need species appropriate diet. Like we've had two dogs in our marriage. One was died at 16 and one was 16 and a half. And we had to put both of them down because they would have lived much longer, but they were going deaf and the other things were happening. And one of them, our sweet Cheyenne, was harmed by the veterinarian doctor. She did a procedure on the back of one of her teeth and didn't understand that she cut off the blood flow to our dog's ear, and she went deaf after that. And I had to sit and educate the veterinarian that what she had done, and showed her some studies, and she goes, holy cow, I never had any idea that that could happen. And I don't know how many dogs I've done that to. And I thought, oh my gosh. Right. So anyways, I love animals. I love animals more now that I'm married to my wife, because she is a dog lover and I love dogs and always did love animals, but I didn't always want one. And so we ended up with two in our marriage. And so, dogs will, if you put down a bowl of regular water and our water, watch where your dog goes. Your dog's always going to go to Echo water. Okay, Steve says, how full is filled? Bottom of the neck. Yes, sir. Bottom of the neck would be the right answer. Yes, sir. That would be the right way. Okay, I'm going to go. I love you all. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here with us. We are so incredibly grateful for your support, for your loyalty. Please tell everyone you know, Echo water is the real hydrogen water. Echo water is the original hydrogen water. Echo water is the only one you want to use because you're guaranteed to have hydrogen. Please tell everybody you know that, and please invite them to come and be educated on these webinar series. We still have 4 more in this series, and so we're excited to educate you, and we would love to have you inviting more and more people. Sally says, thanks. You're very welcome, Sally. Grateful for you. Ainsley says, blessings to all my hydrogen family. We love you. Paul and Whitney and Penny. We love you too. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. And I bid you all farewell till next Thursday.